I'm Cannon Rowe, and I'm Mia Odison.
And I'm Mika and I, and I'm BB Odison.
And today we're going to be making tea biscuits. So our ingredients are butter,
Milk,
eggs,
flour,
salt,
baking soda,
and cream of tartar. So first we're going to mix together the butter, and this is 1 cup of butter. So we're going to stir this together.
and once that's done, we're going to add the milk.
And then those ingredients have to stir together. And then we're going to use 4 eggs. So we're going to crack them in a jar first so we don't get any shells.
Here, I can take it out with this jar. Watch.
Got it out. Okay, we got that one. Alright, that's 3 eggs.
And here's the last one.
Here's our 4 eggs. So we're going to let these stir together. Got egg on our fingers. Let's wipe that off. So these are all the wet ingredients, so these have to be mixed together first.
And then we can add the dry ingredients after that, which we have the flour, the baking soda, the salt, and the cream of tartar.
So these are just stirring together, and there's some residue on the mixer, so I'll just wipe that off. Just put that off the mixer so they can all be stirred in.
Here's our flour, so we can measure this out.
So right now we have 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of milk, and 4 eggs, and we're adding 3 cups of flour. So we're just going to stir in the wet ingredients one more time so they're all mixed together. So this is just 1 cup of regular white all-purpose flour. Flour was really popular on the Oregon Trail. They would take barrels of flour because flour could be used with lots of bread, which is a lot of what they ate on the Oregon Trail. They ate a lot of bread.
They made it by frying it in their pan over the stove. So
They would make the dough in the morning and then they would set it in the wagon, and during the day it would stir up and it would rise, and then it would be ready to cook by evening. So the next day they would have fresh bread, and they would do that every day. So every day each wagon would have fresh bread.
here's our salt.
But we need 1 more cup of flour first.
After 1 more cup of flour.
Before we add that in. It's more flour. Never have too much flour.
Exactly. They never really ran out of flour on the Oregon Trail because they packed
We packed a lot of flour. A lot of flour.
I don't know, it was like 800 pounds.
A lot of flour. For one family, it was a lot of flour. So we have 3 cups.
And now this is 1 teaspoon of salt.
And then we have 1½ teaspoons of baking soda.
And after she adds that in, we're going to add our last 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar.
Back in the Oregon Trail, they wouldn't exactly use cream of tartar, but it was a very similar substance that basically did the same thing. It just had a different name. Oh, I need those.
Yes.
Oops. So this is 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar.
Mm-hmm. It's a very simple recipe. They couldn't have very extravagant meals while on the Oregon Trail.
Mostly just to keep them going throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of meat, lots of carbohydrates, lots of
Breads,
just
biscuits,
tea biscuits.
tea biscuits.
So now we're going to mix all the dry ingredients together. So now it's just forming a dough. So it's just stirring.
And after that we can bake it. They obviously didn't have a modern day oven back on the Oregon Trail, but today we're cooking it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes.
Back on the Oregon Trail, they would have most likely used a Dutch oven, which is basically just a pot made out of ceramic or another type of material that's similar, and it has a lid, and they would cook it over a fire.
And they had these iron tripods to have it over the fire to place it.
Because you can't put a pot right in the fire. I mean, that's just a bad idea,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got our dough,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so they would have put it normally into a greased, like a Dutch oven, but for today we are going to be using a pan with parchment paper on it, which will basically have the same. We're going to just spread the dough, which just kind of looks like a cookie dough, and we're just going to spread a thin layer all over the pan. It's kind of a thick dough. It's thicker than a cookie dough, so it's supposed to be like a bread. It's like a bread dough, but not quite as thick, and it also doesn't have any yeast in it, so it won't rise. So we're just going to spread this in a thin layer over the pan. A family probably would have eaten this at dinner time, so the bread wouldn't have been able to cook over the fire. Or they might have saved it, they might have made it at night and eaten it the next day for a breakfast or a mid-meal.
Yeah, they really had to plan ahead for their meals because they usually were traveling for such long periods of time during the day that they didn't really have time to cook. So they had to figure out what they were going to eat for several days ahead.
So we've got our batter in an even, thin layer throughout the pan. And right now, this is what it looks like. So this is what it looks like before cooking. So now we're just going to put it in the oven, and it's going to cook for about half an hour at 350 degrees.
Yep.
And then it'll be
30
done.
minutes now, and I think it's ready to come out. That's what it looks like. We put it in so it got a little bit brown on the top. So we're gonna let that. And we can cut it using our tinware knife, which is what they used on the Oregon Trail.
So it's been cooking for about half an hour, which is probably how long it would have cooked on the Oregon Trail, maybe a little bit longer.
Given that they didn't have modern technology with their ovens.
So they probably would have eaten it with butter or honey, which is what we have here. So now we're going to try it out.
Here you go. Here's the honey.
Got some honey and the Kroger Indians.
The Kroger Indians, we traded it with the Kroger Indians.
Kroger.
Get it? Alright.
Alright. See how it is. It's kind of hot.
It's pretty good.
It's actually really good.
Yeah.
They were fine dining.
Oh yeah.
It's really buttery. Probably because there's so much butter. They would have made the
entire
butter.
cup of butter.
Yeah. They would have made the butter. They would have milked the cow in the morning and put it in a churn. And then the churn would have been stirring up from the bumpy wagon ride all day. And then it would have been butter by the time they were ready to eat it in the evening.
No physical churning was required. That was probably the only plus side of the wagon's bumpiness.
So, this was Tea Biscuits.